Hey guys, I watched Star Wars The Force Awakens on opening night Thursday 7 p.m. But I just got back from it again because I just wanted to get my thoughts together and really solidify my opinion of the movie. So I'm kind of here today now because I've got my opinion together. Oh boy, so this movie this movie was amazing, man. More amazing the second time around. Like the first time I came out, I'm like, he did it, man. J.J. Abrams really did do it. But now, I wanted to give it a score from 1 to 10, but that's not really possible. I mean, the only way you could really rate this movie is just calling it Star Wars. Because it's just what it is. It's as good as the originals, episodes 4, 5, and 6, if I say so myself. Definitely better than the prequels. Surpassed episodes 1, 2, and 3, and I really do think it is fighting for that, third place spot with one of the originals, so take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I think a lot of what made this movie good is that they went back to the basics, but they kind of moved forward as well. Since J.J. Abrams is a fan, he knew what the fans wanted, but at the same time, he's taking his own creative liberties because he is his own director and it is his movie now. So I really enjoyed that. One thing I also liked is I did think at first they were gonna get rid of characters, like almost replace them. Like, oh, Kylo Ren's gonna take the place of Darth Vader, or Finn and Rey are gonna take the place of Han and Leia, etc. But it really isn't that. After a while, I kind of realized it really is almost like a book. They're not there to replace anyone. This is a continuation of the story, and the way he writes it and the way he directs the movie, it really does feel that way. There's no kind of competing for the spotlight in this movie. It's all just natural. It all flows really well. The relationship between the characters is fantastic. And you could tell they all really wanted to be there, and they just all worked out really well. Another thing, kind of wanted to move on to the characters in this movie, and one thing I really liked about it is, I'll start off with Kylo Ren. This character was amazing. There's so much to the character than what you just kind of see at first. The first time he just kind of seems like a whiny little kid, kind of like Anakin Skywalker, but it really, it really is much more than that. So one thing about it is, if you kind of look at it, it's almost like he enjoys what he does. You kind of have to look at the evolution of the dark side, which they kind of talked about in this movie a lot. Now, in the Sith, in episodes 1, 2, and 3, they were more of an organization still, and they kind of had a lot more control of the way they use their powers. They never really let it go out of control, and when they did get angry, they kind of planned it out. But now with this kind of new wave of, they don't even call it the Sith, it's just kind of the dark side, or like the Knights of Ren. That's the kind of organization they have now. It's really raw. If you're angry, people are going to know you're angry and you're just going to lash out. You don't really care. Because no one's going to tell you anything. I mean, just look at Kylo Ren. He had 3 scenes where he just kind of lashed out and started destroying everything in sight. And I really liked the scene was that where he's lashing out and kind of having a dark side baby fit. And 2 stormtroopers are walking towards him and they hear him, so they just kind of turn around and walk away. They're like, yeah, we're not going to try and die today. I'm good. But I really did like this character. It's really almost everyone in this movie is almost really 3-dimensional. Because one thing I also liked about this character is you can see he's conflicted with what he's doing. Like, he wants to be in the dark side because it pulled him towards it, but at the same time there's a scene where he's talking to Darth Vader's helmet that he recovered, and he's like, grandfather, I can feel the light pulling me towards it, and I'm feeling really conflicted. Show me the way to the dark side. And then once again it happened in the scene where him and Han are talking, and he's kind of talking to Han, and he's like, I do regret everything I did. I know I've done bad, and I want to get better, but it's just not easy for me. I'm really lost. So, kind of adding on to that, you can see like any little thing can really set this guy off. He's almost like a unstable pendulum. Like just looking at Han Solo, which we find out is his father, and Kylo Ren's real name is Ben Solo. So just seeing his father and his father talking to him for that bit really sets him off and kind of pulls him towards the light and gives him a moment of clarity. But then that little moment of hesitation, he just immediately snaps back and, well, he's back just to his own like psychotic self. And that's a really cool thing that adds on to him because of what he did in that scene, which I'll talk about later. It makes him a villain you like because he's truly evil now. I mean, there's really like it seems like there's no redemption for him in our eyes, but from what we saw in that scene, he can be redeemed. He's not completely lost. He's not at the point where Anakin was, murdering the kids or almost killing Padme. But just kind of the way he is, he's a really conflicted character, and I really do like that about him. He's really complex in his own way. So, the next character is the Rey, which, it's pretty much Luke Skywalker, but, her own little unique twist. She's a scavenger on Jakku, and they pretty much left her there from a kid, and she's been waiting her whole life. She's never even left the planet. So, she's kind of like this lost child at first, like this really scared kid who doesn't want to go away too far because she might get even more lost. She might lose grip of the only thing she has in her life, or the only thing that she knows. But as the movie goes on, it's kind of like almost a clear evolution, which is really influenced by meeting Finn and his kind of like ecstatic personality just kind of out there. So with all this, you kind of find out she is maybe Luke's daughter. May or may not be. I'm leaning towards maybe. Only because of the whole lightsaber and her being really influenced by the Force, which she kind of learns to control really quickly. So, like Kylo Ren even said, don't let her get away, because if she practices this more, she'll become a really strong adversary. She'll become more powerful than we can imagine. And she really does. Hell, she even ends up outpowering Kylo Ren only because she is more intact with herself. She might be like a lost child, but only in like a physical sense, but she knows who she is, so that really adds character to her and kind of makes sense to how her powers work and how she's able to control them a lot better. So, the next character is Finn, which, yeah, I kind of said he's an ecstatic character. I really like what they did with him, because it kind of gave him a door to focus a lot more on the stormtroopers in the First Order. And it kind of helped you see what they went through. Like, they're not just these mindless drones. Like, they are, because they're taken from as kids and they're brainwashed to kill, kill, kill. That's all they know. But Finn, kind of, since he always worked as a janitor, which they mention, and in the comic, like in kind of the tie-in comic, he's kind of like this top rank soldier because he's good at everything. So he kind of does everything. But in the movie, this is his first mission. And you see that he's kind of one of the only stormtroopers that really doesn't like to kill or doesn't want to kill, and he doesn't kill anyone at all. In fact, he hesitates, and Kylo Ren even kind of looks at him weird for it. So I think that's really cool. And another kind of scene you get with him is in that same beginning of the movie, where the stormtrooper dies, which might be his friend right in front of him, and the blood kind of just smears all over his helmet. And that kind of seems to trigger a almost PTSD in him. Like, maybe when he was little, when he was kidnapped, they killed his family, and he just kind of like doesn't remember it, but has notions of it in his head, like he knows something bad happened. So when he sees things like that, it makes him nervous, because you can see later when they're on the base, when they get back, he takes off his helmet and he's really breathing heavy, he's all sweaty, and his eyes are really dilated, like he's having a breakdown almost, like he literally snaps. So that kind of spurs him off from being like this first order stormtrooper into becoming like a worthy Jedi. Like, if he were to be a Jedi, yeah, he can do it, He's a really good guy. He kind of had this whole really redemption about him. And that's really cool. He's not even like I said, no one's trying to outshine each other. Rey is strong. Finn is definitely strong. He tries to protect her. They try to protect each other, so that's cool. They're kind of like on the same level. They're both young. They're both really goofy. So I really like that. And kind of the last thing as far as characters I want to talk about is Han and Kylo. Or the whole kind of little family they got, which is Han and... Well, Kylo Ren is Han and Leia's kid. And what happened with Kylo is when he was little, he was obviously force sensitive. So Leia wanted to send him with Luke to get trained, but she said she ended up not doing that and ended up doing something completely different. But I'm kind of having like a notion like maybe he did go and train with him because that's kind of the reason Luke ended up leaving because a lot of his, I guess, trainees ended up kind of going to the dark side. Like he tried to train them, but it wasn't enough. He couldn't save any of them. So, yeah, Kylo Ren ended up being influenced by the dark side, and he just, as we can see, went insane with it. He went insane and just started kind of worshiping the Empire and really obsessed with that whole thing, obsessed with Darth Vader to a point where it's almost creepy. Because we see a point in the movie where I don't know if you noticed, where he kidnaps Rey for the first time, and she's kind of tied up. When he takes his helmet off, he sets it on Darth Vader's ashes, and then he picks it up and just puts it back on. So this guy is literally breathing in this his grandfather's ashes, and it's just really really creepy though. But it makes him that much better of a character. And I really liked Han. I mean, if you've seen the originals, he's pretty much Han Solo. He definitely upped his performance. I mean, I'm not saying he might deserve an Oscar or anything, but he should be nominated for one because his performance was amazing, especially in the scene that I want to talk about, which is where he meets Kylo Ren for the first time in like 20 years, 20, 30 years. So, oh boy, this scene was really emotional, but at the same time, it was really frustrating. Everyone in the movie theater was really frustrated with this. So Leia had promised Han before he goes on this mission to stop this big doomsday weapon, which is the Death Star, times like 1,000. Pretty much, like, take your hand, and that's the Death Star in the originals, and then, I don't know, like, compare it to your car. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. The Death Star is literally, like, the Death Star is literally a car, like a planet-sized weapon. The whole planet is a weapon. So they went to stop that, and that's where the point is when they meet Kylo Ren for the first time, and they have this whole confrontation. And Han is kind of, he doesn't say much in here, but his facial expression really tells you everything you need to know. He pretty much just says, "Come back to us. It's not too late for you. You can still be redeemed, and you can still be a good guy. Look at the power you have. With all this that you can do, you could do wonders in the galaxy. Like, you don't have to use it for evil." And that's where Kylo Ren starts talking like, "Yeah, I regret everything I do. I'm sorry, Dad." And he ends up handing Han his lightsaber, and Han doesn't really take it that fast. He just kind of holds it and kind of looks at Kylo Ren like kind of just taking in the moment. And then out of nowhere, this is where Kylo Ren just kind of snaps back to his original state, slightly turns the lightsaber, and it kills Han. But the way he dies is that much more important to this than anything that Kylo Ren said. Because Han dies, but he's not shocked or scared or angry. He's at peace. He's at peace with how he went. Because he just takes his hand, caresses Kylo Ren like a son. Like, "I love you, and I know you're not a bad guy." He didn't have to say anything, just the motions they do. It really tells the whole thing, everything you need to know. So, he kind of does that and just ends up falling off the platform they're on, and he's dead. And something that adds to the scene more is really with Leia's reaction. Much like in episode 3, when Order 66 is initiated when Yoda kind of feels it, and he just kind of like has like a mini heart attack there. That's kind of what happened to Leia. Like she could feel it kind of happening because they're so connected and they're so in love. You can see the pain she has, but she doesn't let it affect her, and she's a really strong character. I love that. She doesn't tell anyone she knows he died. She doesn't tell anyone. She just kind of keeps on giving orders to make sure to carry out the plan. One character I did forget is Poe Dameron. I really like Poe. He is literally basically the new Han Solo after this. He's really witty. Like the first thing you see from him in the movie is when he's being captured by Kylo Ren. He's like, "All right, do you talk or do I talk first? Because I really can't understand you with that mask." He says exactly what everyone in the audience is thinking. That's what's great. They're all really relatable. So he's a really cool character, and I can't wait to see what they do with him in the next movie because there is two more, and I'm really excited. But yeah, overall, man, this movie was amazing. I really like how they played everything with the Force and got rid of those stupid metachlorians that George Lucas thought would be so cool. And they just kind of explained it old school. The Force is just some thing in nature that flows through everyone. It's just up to you whether you choose to accept it or not, and what you do with it. So I thought that was really cool. I really like that they really brought it back to basics. Like the scene where Finn and Rey first find the Millennium Falcon and they start flying around the desert. I thought that was going to be Han and Chewie, but it was actually them. And everything in that scene where the last like TIE fighter jet or whatever is following them and Rey stops the ship and they just kind of free fall and turn around, that's all done with models. Like that's not CG, that's all models. So it makes it look that much more amazing. And especially in 3D. You guys gotta watch this movie in 3D. It really is beautiful. It's really well handled. But yeah, I really like that they brought this movie to the classic. I actually went with a friend of mine, and she doesn't really know anything about Star Wars, but she wanted to go with me just to see my reaction. And I was smiling like an idiot through the whole thing. And one question she asked me after was, "So did it meet your expectations?" And it really did. Immediately, I already knew the answer. It met my expectations. Not only did it meet them, it really surpassed them. It surpassed everything. Like it gave me what I wanted and more. Like I said, it's better than the prequels, and it's fighting for that third place, which what I would say with episode. For me personally, I think it fights for the position with episode 6. It's kind of fighting for that spot. So, yeah, man, it's definitely a great movie. I mean, really, the only thing I could say about it is he fucking did it, man. J.J. Abrams, he did it. He brought Star Wars back. He brought it back to what we wanted it to be. He gave us all what we needed, what we wanted, and what we hoped for. This movie was simply well handled. It was amazing. It really is kind of like it's just a perfect representation of what today is too. Because if you see the originals, they're really kind of set for that time, the humor and everything. And then the prequels are obviously 90s, which are the really extreme, lightsaber fights, Jar Jar Binks. And then this has to kind of juggle a whole bunch of audiences. It has to appeal to the older fans, and then it has to appeal to the 90s babies, and then it has to appeal to this new audience. Because there was a whole bunch of kids in this movie, which this is their first Star Wars in theaters, the first thing they're ever exposed to. And I think it really did it perfectly, appeal to all of them in a way that it'll capture their attention and it'll leave them wanting more. Uh, yeah, though. This movie was really well handled. It was amazing. I love Kylo Ren as a villain, and I love Rey. I love Finn. Maybe the only complaint I would have about this movie is probably Captain Phasma. Now, she was a great character, don't get me wrong. I loved everything about her. Now, my complaint is that they really underused her, but with the current news that dropped yesterday that everyone's returning for the episode 8, she's definitely going to have to play more. She's definitely going to try and capture Finn again, I think, after they, threatened her. She feels responsible that he escaped because she's in charge of them, the First Order. So I can't wait to see what they do with Captain Phasma. She's a really cool character for what we got. But yeah, if you... Oh man, this movie was great. Wow. It really was. But I think I've rambled on enough here. Kind of talked about everything I wanted to. If I missed anything, or if you had a favorite moment about this movie, or something it did right, or maybe something it did wrong, make sure to leave a comment down below. And yeah, oh, sorry about that. I almost forgot BB-8 and R2-D2. Fabulous characters. BB-8 is not campy at all. He's not like the next Jar Jar Binks. He's really well handled. The humor is well timed. The humor fits with the scene. And he's a great character. Everyone in the theater loved him. I loved him. That scene where he's talking to Finn about actually not being was a rebellion is great. But okay, now I'm done. I just wanted to talk about that because I completely forgot about him. But yeah, great movie. I'm definitely gonna go see it a third time. This movie was fantastic. Uh, Make sure to see it in 3D if you saw it in 2D, and if you saw it in 3D the first time, watch it in 2D because there is a lot you can miss in this movie at 3D because it only focuses on one main thing, which in 2D it kind of gives you a wider view of it. So yeah, let me know what you think about this movie, and let me know your favorite moments and probably your most hated moments for this movie. And remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.